In the last 10 to 15 years, we've witnessed extraordinary progress in introducing transparency and accountability into infrastructure investment. CoST has been at the forefront of these efforts. It opens up infrastructure investment to multi-stakeholder scrutinies, catalyzing reforms that lead to better quality infrastructure, stronger economies, and better lives. I want to share with you three aspects of our approach that have helped us to make this difference. They are multi-stakeholder working, InfraTech as an enabler of transparency, and civic engagement.
CoST is not a government initiative, it's a multi-stakeholder, and that's why people like it so much here.
The reforms are only likely to be effective if they are supported by business and civil society. CoST brings these stakeholders together in multi-stakeholder groups, or MSGs.
Working in Afghanistan is not easy. It's a challenging environment. CoST actually creating a collaboration and partnership environment which helps the government, the civil society, the private sector to work together.
The second theme is InfraTech. InfraTech refers to the integration of new technologies across the infrastructure lifecycle. CoST has established itself as a leader in utilizing digital technologies to disclose data and enable the analysis of that data by citizens.
Every year, we face a period of severe tropical storms and hurricanes. In November 2020, we were highly impacted by two tropical storms, Ira and Ayora. As you can see, the damage done by these storms was catastrophic. As one of the responses to this type of devastation, CoST Honduras designed a prototype called InfraTech that collect data from different sources. So far, Honduras, through InfraTech, has demonstrated that criteria to grant environmental licenses is unclear. Also, infrastructure projects are developed in inappropriate places, and most of our public infrastructure projects are located in vulnerable areas and cause high environmental impacts during construction.
Climate, infrastructure, and anti-corruption accountability. It seems to me that CoST works precisely at the sweet spot of that intersection in the Venn diagram, because it seeks to bring accountability and transparency and hold to account those who make decisions in relation to these big investments in infrastructure, to hold them to account.
Infrastructure transparency is one of the key issues we work on as one of the biggest corruption risks. Now, about 80% of OGP members have or are working on an anti-corruption reform through their OGP action plans. And given CoST's work both at the local and national level, which again, not many other partners work on, they've been key to this effort on broadening the reform base for anti-corruption.
The CoST initiative very much fits into integrity. Our sector is provider of services into consultancy and engineering. And we are very much strong on the demand side as much as the supply side. And because we are very much at the early stage of formulating infrastructure design concept, the procurement process, the construction phase, and the asset management. And we enshrine this in everything we do to make sure integrity and transparency in the procurement process is embedded in the way we go through all night.
The Pandora Papers bring to our attention, sadly in a sense, the fact that rents are often taken from the public sector or from the public and are squirreled away and secluded. So making an effort to reduce the illegitimate rents on the one hand, and then also creating a world whereby those sorts of practices become more difficult is all part and parcel of the one act, I think, to improve allocation of resources on the one hand, but also hopefully through time act to rebuild trust in systems that can work and can deliver for communities.
When we refer to civic engagement, we mean citizens, NGOs, community-based organizations, and others accessing data and using it to exercise accountability. This aspect of CoST has been transformed in recent years. CoST members produce what we call assurance reports. They are a detailed analysis of a sample of the data disclosed by governments to ensure it's complete, it's accurate, and it's consistent with our disclosure standard. They also draw attention to problems and recommend improvements.
The Wakiso district, which was the construction of Namaswa and Chitiko Road. In this particular case, post-Uganda First Assurance report highlighted that there was dangerous speeds, poor drainage, and poor accessibility of this road, and there was no constant supervision of the project.
In Afghanistan, we have developed 3 assurance reports. It was a matter of collaboration between the private sector and the procurement entities and the civil society. One of the procurement entities take some actions and they save millions of dollars.
Our assurance report revealed that in spite of the fact that this project government had spent billions, there were only 2 beneficiaries. But also because of this, people had refused to grant access for pipes to pass through their gardens and land because it was being perceived as a project of a few, not for the community. Through community dialogue, the Baraza which was conducted, residents raised these issues with the Ministry of Water and Environment, but also Mbarara District local government. And as a result, government committed to expand the coverage of this project and ensure that as many beneficiaries are reached.
For instance, Ministry of Public Works, we have highlighted some concerns in the project identification stage, and they have acted upon that, and they have saved millions of dollars.
In April this year, I was excited to take on the role of CoST champion for Malawi because of my belief that my emphasis on the rule of law would foster infrastructure transparency in Malawi. We cannot have sustainable socioeconomic development without infrastructure development, and we cannot have credible infrastructure development without complying with standards that are set and regulated by law.
As you know, Minister of Economy was leading the CoST. He was advocating for CoST consistently, and that was the main reasons make CoST Afghanistan successful.
As the start of the CoST initiative in Honduras, the president itself gave a demand to all the public institutions to disclose information for the CoST initiative and for all their procurement processes.
Political willpower is very, very important in the sense that, you could do so much. If there is no political willpower to make this happen, it will never happen, because the biggest area of corruption is in the public sector area.
We've seen a lot of progress at the level of standards as well, with the sort of the open contracting data standard on infrastructure. What more can we do together so that we can, really see this work being taken, not just in some of the countries we're talking about, but bridging the low-income, high-income country gap and really sustaining that political commitment, because this is a tricky issue to get political commitment on.
We know for sure that increasingly most government cannot afford to develop infrastructure by themselves. There's a lot of private sector that is actually developing major projects, hospital, hotels, all sorts of things. And we should encourage those private sector investors to take this on board.
On the issue of making transparency attractive to the private sector, in the end, the private sector goes where the returns are. So it is a matter of increasing the returns to transparency on the one hand and diminishing the returns to non-transparency on the other.
For those who actually started the initiative, the job is not over yet. It's just started. There's an opportunity to look at how do we fund this initiative, take it to the next level, and to see the impact that it makes in terms of other opportunity costs that you can use that additional money investing to deliver social well-being, and make sure not only do we bank the drop for third world country, we really want to encourage those who are in the West also to embrace it, because if that transparency is actually done in West, then you to create a leadership approach, and then you see emerging country and also the multilateral bank will take it up.
Our projections, we have not even had 1/3 of what we had hoped to get. And all the partners that we have approached, including our current donors and past donors, then resources are not there because priorities shifted a lot towards responding to the immediate needs of the pandemic. But this is also a huge risk because when there is poor governance on projects, there is going to be massive leakage.
We in CoST are keen to sustain the progress that has already been made and extend the program to other countries. But we're currently not in a position financially to provide support where it is needed and requested. Indeed, we have received applications from several new countries which we can't approve until we receive further funding. The demand for CoST support is likely to grow further as the demand for global infrastructure accelerates.